Hey, how's it going? I'm back in the shop. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was quite the crap show, to say the very least. If you haven't seen it, I've got the video link right up here. But here's the aftermath. Here's my expensive Michelin pilots that I decided to roast because I wanted to look good while making a lot of smoke. And actually, when you use expensive sticky tires for the burnouts, you get a lot more smoke. So it definitely smoked. So I'm gonna just take a look at these tires right here. And as you can see, they got really hot because you can see all these bubbles. Look at that. It's just all crusty. These were brand new tires and not so brand new anymore. This one actually has a little bit of tread, but the other one has nothing. I'll show you. This one is just smooth like a baby's ass. There's one thing you gotta know when you're doing big burnouts like that. You don't want to pop your tires. Yeah, it's cool and stuff, but it destroys your car. I've learned that from experience. I've taken chunks out of fenders before. But I've got good news. What I'm doing today is I'm going to swap over to my drift setup, which is the factory MX3 wheels with cheap brand new tires on it. And I'm going back drifting. I'm going back to drift at the go-kart track. So that's gonna be sick. I'm 90% sure the car will work a lot better than it did the first time I went because that transmission saw a lot. This transmission is fairly new and I'm ready to let the thing see the last of the season, and with the last of the season, I'm just gonna let it rip. I've got a few tires. I'm gonna put new tires on, a couple more, so I'm planning on burning 4 tires, and also I need to check on this SOAR engine. This engine always is clutch. It's ran great all season, but I do need to make sure I'm not gonna break anything internally in the engine because that is an expensive internally built engine. So I'm gonna make sure it's running the exact same air fuel ratios in the cylinders, and by doing that, I'm gonna check all the plugs, replace the plugs, gap the plugs, and I'm also going to check oil and possibly change oil. I change the oil almost every time I beat on the car because that's just the nice thing to do to it, to be completely honest. But this engine, I already have all the parts to rebuild the internals, meaning bearings for the journals, bearings for the rods, literally basically freshen up the entire bottom end, and I need to get rings. That's the one thing I need to do. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be using this block later next year. I have to rip it apart and see, because I know it does have low compression, and not low compression just because it has low compression pistons, if you know what I'm saying. Kind of blow by problems, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, because the car does run amazing and it does make a lot of tire smoke and choo-choo noises. Choo-choo! Anyways, let's do this. I'm gonna pull the plugs out. Sweet, I got all my plugs out. And as you can see, all the tips are very black, and I will explain to you why. Like I've always showed you, they're like perfectly golden brown usually. I'm just gonna grab a plug over here and show you what they usually look like. The tips usually look like that. This one's already cut open, but this is how they usually look. And the car was cold. It hasn't been started for a week. So I got out, started the car, let it idle for like maybe 60 seconds, and everybody started counting down, and my car's like at 90 on my gauge, and the temp for actual running temp is 180, 185, 190, somewhere in there. So it was cold once I started the burnout. So when I started the burnout, it was in warm-up enrichment still. So my ECU is in warming up enrichment from 0 all the way to 160. So until it's at 160, it will not run like it was gonna get beaten on. So when I was doing the burnout at 90 Fahrenheit, I was literally in warm-up enrichment. So my car was running extremely rich, and it was running so rich that it was misfiring, and it was just bang, 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 and I'm at like 3,000 RPM at like 10% throttle, and I'm like, oh no. So I sat on the throttle at 10% until it did get past warm-up enrichment was 160, and then I was on the throttle, and then it was running properly. But that is why my plugs are fouled, so I need to replace them for sure, because I don't want to run into any issues when I go shred that little go-kart track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off all the tips just to get an idea of what's going on actually in the engine. I usually have a problem with number 3, and as you can see, number 3 is black just as the others, so there's not much comparison until I take off the threads. So I'm gonna cut off all the threads with a grinder, literally at the base where the threads are, and I'm gonna rip that apart, and I'm going to take a good look and read these plugs. So here are all my spark plugs in a row from 1 to 6. All the tops are almost unreadable because there's so much black on them. This thing was running really, really rich. I'm glad I know why, but it could be a thing that people don't understand, like warm-up enrichment. If your warm-up enrichment isn't completely dialed, because normally you wait until your car is up to temp and your turbo's up to temp before you start beating the absolute piss out of it. You don't even do that on the dyno. So that is a realm I haven't been in yet, because I don't beat on it when it's cold, and I did there, and I definitely had it a little bit rich. They are very rich, and I've always had a problem with cylinder 3 because I think I either have a slight wiring problem or injector. I've swapped out the injector before, and I still somewhat have the same problem, but it's not running lean right now. It might be a certain percentage lean, but it also could be that my fuel system is a little bit shy of making all this power. So that's another thing I'm going to be doing this winter, is putting bigger fuel pumps or altering something in my fuel system to have more pressure. So I would like to be able to control the pressure, like I can have a range from 40 to 60 PSI, and just by turning a knob. So that also could be the reason, because I have swapped injectors and I always have a problem with number 3. But like I said, it's not lean like concerning lean, but it is leaner than the others. Like as you can see, this is very black, mostly black. And yeah, this is rich still, but it's not as rich as this one, if you get what I'm saying. And that's really rich, really rich. So these two, number 3 and 4, are the leanest of the 6. So I can take note of all this stuff all the time just to make sure everything is not gonna melt inside my engines. Like if it's a bone stock engine like the one in the front here, I don't care. I just send the thing, because it's literally $50 engine, and why cut up 10 bucks, 12 bucks in plugs every time I drive it? But if you've got like a lot of money in internals, it's important. Like this will save you. Your engine will last you forever if you take care of it. Yeah, maybe once in a while you'll have to take it apart and do bearings because you're at high horsepower, but guess what? Your pistons will be good. Your rings might even be good. So these things you want to keep in line, especially with high horsepower and a small engine with boost. I'm gonna briefly go over how you read plugs. So this top part is, you read the timing. So this will tell you if your timing's good. So I'm gonna grab another top of a spark plug right over here. And this is a better example because it's not extremely rich, but as you can see, there's a strap on the top, and that strap on the top is colored, and that's good. It's how far colored it is to the bottom. So it's that strap is welded on right there. And what you want is you want it colored all the way to the weld. You don't want it colored onto the actual part of the threads down here. And if say it was colored all the way down to like the strap is colored down but further to the actual threads, it would be your timing is too rich. You have the flame igniting too early. So you would want to reduce your timing. And if the coloring wasn't all the way down to the strap, like weld right there, you would want to increase timing because your flame is too slow. So that is what this tells you. That is all this tells you. And then you would go to your actual plug here, and you look at the ceramic, and there's lines. You can see a line, and this one isn't a good example because it's so rich. This is a rich plug because it's literally black at the tip. You would usually have that at the bottom, but I'll find a different plug that's a better example. You can see a black line right here, right there. And honestly, that is a perfect plug right there. So if you were there, you wouldn't want to change your air fuels. Let's say your black line was higher up, about halfway up, you'd be running a little rich. So you'd take out 3 to 5%, see what happens, make a change. And let's say this was all white. When it's all white, and that means you're really lean because you're not getting any fuel line. This is literally from the fuel. So you want to check this stuff frequently. A lot of people don't. A lot of people will just check their air fuel ratio gauge on their dash. I check that all the time too. But that air fuel ratio gauge is an average from 6 cylinders. So one cylinder could be 15% lean, and your air fuel would only show 2 or 3% more lean, if you think about it, because some are a little bit more rich, and because they don't all shoot the same fuel. When you're shooting like a liter of fuel in each cylinder within within 60 seconds, like there's a big range there, and it literally gives me anxiety thinking about it because you want this stuff equal. So if you say you were at 11.9, say your target air fuel was 11.9 for 7 pounds of boost, and it was saying 11.9, but technically it might not be 11.9 for all of them, because it could be 11.5 for one of them and 12.4 for the other, and it would read out as 11.9, and it would totally trick you. And then you go, why did I literally melt a piston? Well, it's because you didn't check your plugs. You don't know anything until you check your plugs. You can't even just check your plugs with the caps on like this. You can't, let's say I didn't cut these off, you can't check them like that. That tells you nothing. You gotta pull this off with a grinder and then read it. You gotta read it. Make sure that engine is running properly. So if it gets too hot in there, which is lean, when you run really lean or really aggressive timing, you melt things, and you don't wanna do that. So lesson learned, learn from me, because I've done this, I've been doing this forever, guys. Literally forever, and I would take my word for it, because I've burnt up more engines than you've probably owned cars in your life. And here are all my brand new spark plugs out of the box. So what I do is I go onto Rock Auto and I order about 40 or 50 or 60, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I can afford at the time, spark plugs. And I look into the cold and heat ratings of the plug, make sure they match my setup, and make sure the threads are correct and everything like that. But the reason why I keep so much is because when I'm at the track, I replace these all the time, just like I am now, I'm replacing them. And when I buy them and get them in a box, I literally will take every plug out and gap them to the gap I know my car likes. So all these are gapped to around 30 thou. I'm gonna check. I do have a gauge on my keys right here. I do have a feeler gauge right here that I check my plugs with, and boom. Anything happens, I've got everything I need. All I need is a spark plug tool, and I can always do this wherever I am with my car. So I'm just gonna double check the gap and make sure they're at the specified I want, 30 thou, and go from there. I'm gonna take these Johnnies off and put on my drift wheels. These are the factory MX3 wheels like I was talking about. These were all brand new the last day of my drift event, but I did one lap on 2 or on actually all these tires, but the ones that still look brand new are the fronts, like these two. And then I'm going to put these slightly worn ones on the back. Well, these straps are done. Looks like the hot rubber started melting these straps that were holding down my patio stones. So these are garbage. That's too bad. Oh well, it was a good time. Oh, look at these straps before I take them off. So the tire was here, as you can see, where it stopped and stuck to it. Look how melted that got. It's literally got chunks missing, and it was not hitting the car's tire. That's for sure. That's all from just melting. That is wild. Just look at it. So this is a bald Michelin Pilot, and this is a brand new Pilot. This one was brand new a couple days ago. So I'm trying to get my brand new tires on my burners, and I don't have any 15. So I've got to pull them off my other MX3 because it has one 15. I just put random wheels on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel off 15 and install this wheel, but I need a tire for that one. So I found some scrap ones that I used years ago. I'm gonna throw that one on there, then trade it on for the other MX3. Ta-da, my MX3. This is my daily in the summer. I've had lots of problems with it because I keep blowing engines, so I'm going to fix that with putting in a KL engine, either bone stock or fully built. Anyways, I'm stealing this wheel off of it, and I'm gonna throw those ones back on. I don't know what happened here, but sometimes when you have 30 different wheels, they end up on random cars and bleh. As you can tell, it's got rod knock. That is why I haven't driven it too much this summer. I did drive it a lot, but then I had a really cocky week, and I kept turning the boost up, and this is a bone stock KF engine, so it doesn't like anything more than like 6 pounds because the rods are so weak. So I'm just gonna drive this along, but yeah, listen to that rod knock. Not good. But it still does run, so this car, I miss it so much. This is a beautiful car. So I peeled the rim off this car, and I'm going to put on a different one, like I said. But honestly, guys, like, I miss this car so much. Can't wait to drive it next summer. So after all that fuss, I got 2 matching wheels with 2 brand new tires on it. I'm good to go. So I'm gonna burn off these ones, then I'm gonna burn off those ones, and then if I still have gas and the cars to survive, I'll take the fronts, move them to the back, and then put bald ones on the front. So that equals 6 tires. If I find some time tomorrow, I will remove these used bald tires and then maybe find some 14s that I've got in my pile and have a couple more tires to burn off. But that's it for today. See you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna be going to the actual go-kart track again, so definitely tune in for that. That'll be in a week or so on YouTube. So we'll see you in the next one. Later.